Hey there, extraordinary educators. If you're looking for lessons to start your year of digital teaching, you have come to the right place. In collaboration with my longtime mentor and friend, I've created a set of 5 lessons to get you started on your virtual teaching journey. If you missed lesson 1, be sure to check out the description box for the link. Also, be sure to watch the entire video for bonus resources and information about how you can get access to the slides for this lesson. By the way, this is on Secondary Thought, the home of purposefully imperfect teaching, where we discuss all things middle and high school. And this is lesson 2 in a series of 5 lessons. It's important that my students are aware and prepared for some of the barriers they'll encounter when communicating with others, whether it's in everyday life or in a virtual classroom. The main purpose of this lesson is to discuss some of the barriers to communication and generate solutions for those barriers. I've decided to start all of my lessons with an entrance ticket that is both unpredictable and engaging. I figure if I do something like this, students will have an incentive for arriving to class on time. For this lesson, I chose a poll. When I display the results to students, I plan to emphasize that speaking and listening are interconnected and both are needed to communicate effectively. The overarching question driving this unit is, how can we ensure that we create a virtual learning community where everyone is included in a way that makes them feel valued and respected? The warm-up. I keep thinking about how I'll be starting the school year teaching students that I probably will be meeting for the first time through a computer screen. That's why I think it's important for me to be intentional about establishing a strong classroom culture and relationship from the start. Similar to any relationship, communication is key, and listening is a huge part of it. I will definitely spend some time explicitly discussing the purpose and power of listening. One thing I've realized in my own experience as an adult on Zoom and other virtual platforms is that people often talk over each other. It can be hard to hear what people are saying. I think the protocol solo is a great one. Share or listen to others. I've included a visual to remind my students, as some students are visual learners and others may be multilingual learners. The lesson overview. I think about the meetings I've attended as an adult that didn't have an agenda, and how I often sat there wondering, when will this be over? As engaging as I think I am as a teacher, I know I'll never be able to compete with students' favorite video game or time they spend talking with a friend. For this reason, I've included an agenda for my students. I make it a point to never have more than 5 items, even if students might actually do more than 5 things. But that's our little secret. Word study. As a kid, I was a whiz at math, but I really struggled with vocabulary. Why am I an English teacher? One word, calculus. Anyway, I remember studying the dictionary trying to learn as many words as possible before taking the SAT. Then one day, someone told me that words are made up of parts, and if I learned those parts, I could increase my knowledge of word meanings um, exponentially. For this reason, I include prefixes, roots, and suffixes in my word study. During my lessons, I'm sure to include several checks for understanding. In class, I would typically have students turn and talk at their tables. I'm not really sure how I can do this virtually. For this checkup for understanding, students will be typing their responses in the chat. If you have any suggestions on how to do this virtually, please leave a comment in the comment section. We are now entering the danger zone. My teaching friends, there is a reason it is called a mini lesson and not a maxi lesson. This crucial fact is often learned during an observation when your principal keeps looking at the clock, sighing, and rolling their eyes, or when the bell rings for class to end and you are still talking. Or maybe it was just me that one time, but I digress. My point, get to the point. In this lesson, there are 14 barriers to communication listed. While I have added them gradually as not to overwhelm students, I will discuss most quite quickly and spend time on ideas that could present a challenge for students, such as the difference between mental and intellectual, or the term bias. I'll also ask my students if there's anything I need to explain further. The model. In my teaching experience, students usually want to get involved during this part of the lesson. I would typically remind them that this is the model by striking a pose. Here I am using the model pose in earphones as a reminder of what they should be doing. One of the reasons I like to keep my mini lessons short is so I can spend more time on the model. Here I'll think aloud about a scenario for the barrier of traffic noise. I will then think aloud through my possible solutions, which is the task that students will be required to complete. The one change I'm thinking about making with this model is to actually complete it on a Google Word document because students will be responding using that format. Yeah, I think I may do that. As an option, I can also provide a graphic organizer for students. Here's another check for understanding. The students can type in the chat or nod or shake their heads on camera to voice their opinions. Guided instruction. If you believe your students need it, here you can provide a second example that students help you complete. The work time. After I explain the task, I think it's a good time to find out if my students need a break. I can do it here or after the work period. As the pairs work, I plan to visit each team digitally. They can also request help using the chat feature. Meeting with each team virtually during the work period is quite important. I can use this time to assess how well the students are able to complete the task, which students would be able to share, and how comfortable students are with screen sharing. Something to consider here is that some students will be presenting writing or typing that may have errors. I know it's important for me to reinforce they use their partner's expertise as well as the document editing tools. You should head to the end of the video for some helpful protocols you can create with your students about listening, speaking, and working with a partner. After the break, it's important to revisit the agenda for the day and also update and congratulate students on how much they've already accomplished. Before students share, I want to reinforce what we talked about in the last lesson, the importance of emotional safety and giving supportive and positive feedback. At this point, I will have already done the work to gather at least 3 partners to share. But I can also use a randomizer such as the wheel of names and replace the names with different barriers or partnerships. Closing activity. I love to give my students a choice of questions in both the warm up and the closing. You can learn a lot about students by the question they choose. I'm also considering using Jamboard to close out my lesson, much like I would use exit tickets in my classroom. I haven't decided if I want one Jamboard per student or one per lesson. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm so excited to implement this lesson, but I'm going to have to wait until September. If you're able to try out this lesson before then, let us know how it went in the comment section. We spent hours creating this lesson. Now, you could slow the video down to half speed and make the slides yourself, or you can subscribe and tell your friends to subscribe. Once we hit 25 subscribers, these slides are yours. We know this is good content and we want to get it to as many people as possible. We also want to get you the content that you want. So please complete the survey to tell us more about how to meet your needs. But wait, there's more. Here are a few virtual learning community protocols. Of course, these are all good tips to follow, but it's important to generate them with your students. Present the sentence starters and have students collaborate to come up with ideas. You can refer to these protocols before an activity as a reminder or after an activity as an assessment. Thank you so much for stopping by on Secondary Thought, the home of purposefully imperfect teaching. See you soon.